And National Party leader Judith Collins is with me. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Chris.
Talk me through your proposed Freedom Day that's coming up in December, or what you've proposed. What does it actually mean, and what are you trying to achieve?
Well, we're trying to end lockdown. So we put out a COVID plan about 3 weeks ago saying this is what we think you need to do, government. Certainly things like rapid antigen testing, vaccination rates, saliva testing, ICU beds, all those sorts of things, and said, get your therapeutic drugs organised, and by the way, remember to order your boosters for the vaccine. So we've done all of that. And what we put out yesterday was an economic plan. We said, right now, businesses need hope, and people are absolutely going stir crazy in places like Auckland, for instance, where you've got a 40% of the population locked down and small businesses just dying on their knees. So what we've got is, we say 85% of the population double vaccinated, you're opening up. We've said 85 to 90, but 85 is the bottom figure. And if you can't get more than that, just go with that. And we've said 1st of December is the date. So either you get 85% of the population, you open up, or you get 1st of December, no matter what. So whichever comes first, just do it, commit to it, moving on. And that means you've got to have your ICU beds organised, your rapid antigen testing. But there's another 6 weeks to go. They've got 6 weeks to get it done, and just do it, because else there won't be Christmas.
Say that was entirely possible, that date that you proposed, but what would happen though if, say, we couldn't get to 85% fully vaccinated? And of course, there are people saying that's cruel on Māori or minority communities who may be lagging behind.
Well, just about every minority community is not lagging behind. The only one that is at the moment is Māori. And what we've seen is a government that has crowed about their 17 Māori MPs and about how much they do, which seems to me not much. They've got Willie Jackson, they've got Penny Henry out there, they've got Kelvin Davis, Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, and you'd have to say, what do they do for Māori? So they talk the big game about giving this amount of money and 25 million here and there to get these things done. But what I'm hearing from Dr. Shane Reti, our Deputy Leader, who's out doing vaccinations again today, doing the job the government should be doing, and in remote areas where people are not close to, sometimes don't have cars, it's a lot of money for them to use. It's all these sorts of reasons why people don't. He's actually just getting out and jabbing the needles in the arms. So what I'm hearing from him is a lot of this money that's been promised to help people, Māori providers, hasn't actually eventuated. They haven't had the money, or they've only just got it. So they didn't have it earlier on. And of course, as we know, the vaccine rollout has been one of the slowest in the OECD.
I was going to ask you that because there has been a lot of announcements over the past 2-3 weeks, months, with repeated announcements regarding Māori, and a number of announcements saying X amount of millions of dollars is going to such and such and such and such. There does need to be accountability for that, because people are saying, well, if there's a lagging behind with Māori, the government keeps making these announcements of millions of dollars. Where is the accountability? Where's that money gone? How's it being spent?
Well, what we know is some of the money hasn't got there. And secondly, we would say that there are some whānau ora providers like Waiparera Trust that has actually been vaccinating people, and in large numbers, and they're based in West Auckland. So it's a target population you'd definitely be trying to focus on. And the government has been, and the Ministry of Health has been absolutely remiss in not giving them the help they need to find out which people around aren't vaccinated, in terms of particularly Māori population, so they can get that job done. These are extraordinary times. And my view is, very clearly, you can't have a section of the population who has decided that they don't want to get vaccinated and are holding up everyone else. We've got to move on, but at the same time, deal with the vaccine hesitancy by getting doctors and pharmacists and other providers, nurses, to those people and getting them the right information, because we know that there is a lot of distrust of the government around this. There's been a lot of distrust for those who haven't already been vaccinated. We just need to get as many people vaccinated as possible.
Does that distrust come from the fact that the government messaging has changed in the last 12 months, possibly because of the Delta variant. But at one stage, we did have the Prime Minister, Chris Hipkins, saying it will not be mandatory, to get vaccinations. This is just not something that we want to employ here in New Zealand. But that has changed. So has that played into some of the conspiracy theorists who said, see, I told you so? And does that make the government's job even harder?
I think you're making a very good point, Chris, is that there has been a changing message from the government and their so-called podium of truth that has helped to build that distrust. So we know that there has been a lot of online theory about and worrying about conspiracy around Pfizer vaccine or any vaccine and whether or not it should be used and safe to use. People generally don't understand the science. And I'm a lawyer, not a scientist, and I've had to have it explained to me. Even then, it is still confusing for most people. So what we need is plain English, very plain English messaging. When you look at particular ethnic groups, let me tell you, the Chinese New Zealanders, Asian New Zealanders generally are very highly vaccinated, around 94% double vaccinated. This is not an ethnic minority issue. Pacifica numbers are getting right up there now. Last I heard was something like in the 70s. It is not that. It is the fact that we have a government that talks a big game on all things Māori, but actually doesn't know what they're doing. And they just say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They really are those classic people that are always going to do something and they don't deliver. So, take someone like Dr. Shane Reti. What's he doing? He's a medical doctor. Where is he? Out doing the job. That's what we need.
South Island mayors are calling on the government to provide some kind of plan tomorrow, Friday. Another big announcement is expected. The Prime Minister and Ashley Bloomfield have largely ignored any messages for the South Island for the past 2 weeks. That's been expressed by some South Island mayors. We tried to speak to Christchurch Mayor Leanne Dalzell, who refused to comment on this, which we all thought was slightly bizarre given it's the biggest city in the South Island. What's your take on the situation in the South Island?
Well, right now, today, we would say if you've got an area like Dunedin that has been, they're about late 80s, I believe, vaccinated, and there's no COVID in that community, we would be on level 1. We would remove that restriction, the level 2 restrictions. Why? Because there hasn't been COVID in the South Island for around a year. And you've got a highly vaccinated population in parts of the South Island, particularly Southland, Dunedin, Christchurch. They're starting to really get those numbers up. So what is the problem that we're trying to solve? The problem is that the Ministry of Health seems to have no understanding that the people who pay for everything in this country are the people who have to go to work in businesses and actually have to make the money to pay the bills. And also is the mental health cost on people who's watching their businesses basically die before their eyes, or those who have suddenly can't get work or don't have work because their business has failed. The mental health cost is going to be with us for a very long time. And the other point I'll say on this, the Ministry of Health, I think, has been absolutely missing in action on some of these areas. So missing in action on vaccines, missing in action on this very important figure, 85,000. That's 85,000 people, or 85,000 procedures, consultations, first specialist assessments, scans that have been cancelled in the first 6 weeks of this latest lockdown. That is across the country. And the worst area affected has been the county's Manukau area. That's the South Auckland area. So you've got enormous numbers of people who won't have their cancers picked up in time. There will be enormous numbers of people who aren't getting the treatment they need because there has been no proper planning around COVID or Delta.
So what would you do then to get these much-needed operations back on track?
Get us out of lockdowns. Just get it out of lockdowns and get the proper ICU beds sorted instead of this mentality around surge capacity. What surge capacity means, Chris, and this is one of those terms they use that is entirely the opposite to what you'd think it would be. What it means is that they stop doing other operations.
Just finally, the big announcement tomorrow, the plan, hopefully if there is one that is announced by the Prime Minister, give me one bit of hope or one thing that you're hoping for that will be delivered or will be announced tomorrow.
Well, I'm hoping that the Prime Minister will end lockdowns, that she will give us a Freedom Day of certainly the 1st of December if she can't bring it forward from that. So she gets all the advice on this, does not share it with us. But what we've noticed is that because we have a plan, because of putting our plans out there, it seems to jolly them along so that they can come up with it. We've been basically drip feeding an acceptance of most of our COVID plan, response plan. Let's hope they do the rest of it, end this MIQ lottery, let double vaccinated Kiwis who test negative before they get on a plane and negative when they get to New Zealand, let them get out of MIQ, not have to even go there. Make sure, unless they're coming from a really red zone where there's lots of COVID, make sure that we have something that's fit for purpose and start trusting New Zealanders, because we're fast losing confidence and trust in the government.
National Party leader Judith Collins, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Chris.